we do with a nasty word. www.freedomslips.com.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning, warning.
They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. When the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes it so sick at heart, that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Call down the thunder will not be
Expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, call-in listeners, or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them, do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now turning to your
Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Thank you so much for being here with us. I want to do a quick shout out and thank so many beautiful people. Let me thank Mark, and let me thank Brittany and Becca and Love Matters and Rosemary, Alejandra, Jesse. I mean, just all of you guys, Josh, Robin. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a big, beautiful family here. I hope you guys got to check out the video with WSO with Steve. Honestly, me and Steve talked most of that day together, and definitely a strong friendship building there. It was a true blessing and very, very enjoyable. And I hope you guys get to check that out, because we're definitely going to work a lot more together in the future. So many things going on, guys. So many things. The phone number is 614-400-5835. Again, it's 614-400-5835. Let us know what you want to talk about. There is so much going on. I mean, obviously we've had a million earth changes going on. There's things every day with that. Earthquakes, tsunamis, you know, massive flooding, supercells, all sorts of stuff going on there. You know, we got a lot of stuff going on in other ways as well. We have so many signs in the skies, from just bizarre cloud formations to Planet X, Nibiru sightings, whatever it is. I'm not sure, you know, but there's something out there. There is definitely something out there. And I'm open to basically explanations. And it's so wonderful to be where we are. And as you guys know, we have left Florida. For the last year, I had so many people saying, well, if you really believed in what you're saying, you wouldn't be in Florida. And I kept saying, well, I feel like Spirit hasn't told me to leave yet. And then when I felt Spirit did tell me to leave, when God told me to leave, then we left. And it is way more peaceful peaceful where we are now. And so yeah, it feels much better, much more tranquil, and I'm not really feeling the effects that I was feeling before. Honestly, I felt almost panicked at times down there, because it felt like it was almost that feeling of the walls closing in on you. For one, I could see the chemtrails every freaking day down there, just blanketing the sky multiple times a day. And they do still chemtrail even up here, you know, where there's not as many people. They still are chemtrailing. They're trying to hide things from us and doing whatever else they're doing to us through the chemtrails. I really think that's a multifaceted program. I think there's a lot of things going on right there with that program. There's been a lot of energy shifts as well, but I definitely feel so much more peaceful here. And I almost feel like if I unplugged from the computer, I might not know anything was really going on at times. So that's a blessing. Hello, Curtis. I haven't seen you in a while, brother. Hello, so many of you. So, give a call in. It's 614-400-5835. Let us know what you're thinking about. Are you worried about tomorrow? Are you worried about the message coming through? Are you worried about the warning from President Trump, the test of the new emergency alert system that's going to come through everybody's phone? It's kind of creepy, isn't it? It does feel kind of creepy when you think about it. Hello, Fifth World. Good to see you out there. It does feel creepy. And there's so many rumors going on out there. There's so many new channels that I've been awakened to by you guys. And listening to them all the time. And enjoying them, honestly. And it seems like there is this feeling of an October surprise. You know, Red October. Perhaps, you know, Red Dawn, if you guys remember the movie and the, you know, not as good remake. Lots of things going on. Lots of things felt. Lots of changes in the air. And so what is on your guys' mind? What is on your mind? What are you feeling the most? Are you worried about the earth changes? Are you worried about Red October? Are you worried about the deep state and everything that's going on? Are you wondering if some of those 50,000 sealed indictments are going to be opened? You know, are you feeling it? Do you think the white hats are basically going to round up and actually start the military tribunals that we've heard about? Are you worried about Planet X and Nibiru? What is it that is on your mind? Or are you feeling peace because you are actually sensing the glitches in the matrix and the fact that maybe all of this is just an illusion? What do you guys think? Share. Let us know. Let us know what you're thinking about. Again, it's 614-400-5835. And let us hear what you guys are thinking about. Many of you guys I haven't heard from. Some of you guys I see out there every week. Let us know what you're thinking about. And I'll share with you guys. Our new place here, where we're living, we've come to talk about this entity, whatever it is, and we call it Boojum. Now, Boojum is a local legend, and I'll get into it in a moment. We do have a caller. Hi, how are you?
Christine from Wisconsin, how are you?
Good, Christine from Wisconsin. So what is on your mind today?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about all the storms that have been happening. I listened to your show the other day with Steve from WSO, and y'all mentioned Wisconsin and the electrical storms that we've been having here, and I just wanted to pipe in with my 2 cents about what I see going on around here.
Yeah, what are you experiencing? I mean, have you noticed that it's quite unusual?
It's totally unusual. I've lived in this area my whole life. I live in southern Wisconsin outside of Madison.
And so what are you experiencing?
The weather that
See? I think we have a little bit of a bad connection, but go ahead.
Yeah, let me see if I can set it up. If I have to go real quick, I apologize. I'm also nursing a baby, and so she may fuss too, so we'll see what happens.
Sure.
But yeah, I just wanted to let you... Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've lived in this area my whole life in southern Wisconsin, and we've had... I mean, I was listening to David of Adapt 2030 one day, and he was saying, or maybe it was his guest, that we've had the best weather now that we'll ever experience in our lives. In the 80s and 90s, the temperatures that we had were ideal, and everything was really sunny and wonderful, and it was wonderful. And the last 3, 4, 5 years in Wisconsin have gotten even more unpredictable than it used to be. I think it was 2012, we had the warmest March that we'd ever experienced, and after that March, since then, we've had the coldest winters we've ever experienced. And in addition to the cold winters, we've had rain like I've never seen. You know, we're talking about the electrical magnetic storm right over Wisconsin the other day, and it scared my dog so bad I had to sing her songs and feed her cheese to get her to calm down. And you know, we're used to having our dogs upset by the weather a little bit, but it's been day after day after day. I mean, my daughter-in-law got her driveway repaired, a new load of gravel brought in after the last flood. And since then, they've had 2 more floods out there that have taken out the driveway. The place that I used to live was in on the west side of Madison, and we moved out of there last year. Last year in July, right when we moved out, we had terrible, terrible flooding, and we thought, well, this is just strange, because it just sat over us and dumped tons and tons of water, which is something we weren't used to seeing. And I admit that everything, of course, is more built up than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, so I understand there's some flooding caused by just the amount of concrete. But then this year, the flooding was 5 times worse. So now we've moved out to the country, and we don't get flooding like that where we're at. We're very lucky, but the place where we used to live got flooding this July 5 times as bad as the July before. In addition to that, we're now cut off from the main city, from Madison, because there's been a bridge out for 2 months now because it got washed away from flooding.
I remember reading about that.
Yeah, that was really bad, and it's still bad, and it's affecting everyone in this area because there's a lot of people that live out the way that I do that drive into the city of Madison for work, and now all those people are inconvenienced because they're going into the city, and for a while there was actually no appropriate way to get into the city. There was like a week of time where we actually really couldn't leave the house because we were left stranded by the bridge being out going to Madison and the bridge being out going to Spring Green. We couldn't even go out for groceries for a week. And it was lucky that my husband had realized it was going to rain really bad when we went to the grocery store the day before it started raining. And then it just rained and rained and rained for like a month. That was a month and a half ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think it's so obvious with the chemtrails. We went into the big city because we live, a ways away from the big city, the bigger city. And yet, we do see some chemtrails here and there, and we're way out in the country now. Yet, when we go into the big city, then we see a ton of chemtrails. But it still didn't compare to Florida, which at the end we were splitting our time between Sarasota area and up in Tampa. And, there it was just so obvious, multiple times a day spraying. I really think that they're spraying and they're targeting the bigger population centers, and that's where we're getting more of these, tremendous events with the rain. It does seem like it's targeted and it's controlled by man. A lot of it is controlled by humans, and I feel like they're aggravating it with their spraying and causing a lot of the mass, destruction we're seeing.
What's really funny, not funny, haha, but like a bad coincidence, is that we also lie where we are at, we believe, on a airplane path. I don't know what you call that, a flight path. We appear to live on it. And I've watched planes, because you can go to radar24.com, and you can find out where the planes are coming and going, and they're coming from big cities like New York and going to San Francisco and such like that. So we're right on the major flight plan. In addition to being on that flight plan, the same direction that the planes are flying are the exact same route that the storms are taking. Like, to the point where we're a mile south of the highway, and the planes fly a mile south of the highway, and the storms go a mile south of the highway. It's just been bizarre because we watched these storms come from the east and go to the west, and and I mean, it's like they don't stop either. It's like they come through in such a way where they're not stopping. It's almost like a funnel. It almost looks like a funnel to me of energy, and these storms are just going right down this path, and storm after storm after storm is going down the exact same path.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You know, I think a lot of this, and that's one of the things that me and Steve were talking about it, and wondering, you know, how much is natural, how much is man-made, how much it is the effect, you know, of a grand solar minimum, about, you know, Planet X and Nibiru, whatever it is that is in our area creating a lot of this. And, you know, how much is the effect of those things, and how much of it is simply manufactured? And that's a big question. That's a really big question. I know a lot of it's manufactured. I have no doubts about that.
It seems to be just from my observations of one person at one place seeing the same thing happen over and over again. When we moved last year and that storm happened, we looked at it and how it came up on the radar, and we're like, that looks completely made, like, faked. That looks like somebody made that. And then the same thing, just the same kind of storm keeping happening over and over, and it's just, I just don't have any doubts anymore that something is off.
No, I agree. I mean, I think it's very, very obvious. I mean, I've realized about chemtrails going back to the early 90s and been watching them since then. And there was a time when I took videos of them, bought high-power binoculars so I could actually see the planes, you know, that were doing them, and could tell that every time I saw chemtrails being sprayed, they were on completely unmarked planes. And then I would see marked planes, you know, that were normal, like, you know, your American Airlines and all the different, you know, regular commercial jets go by, and they wouldn't be leaving the trail that these totally unmarked, you know, pure white or silverish, what I suppose were military planes doing the spraying, were leaving. And you could just see it. You know, I had binoculars that were very high powered, and at the end the lenses were almost about 6 inches in diameter, so I get really good detail. And so it was just obvious to me. You couldn't tell me that, you know, oh, it's all just, you know, nucleation and it's just contrails, because that's not the case. Plus, you could see them turn it on and turn it off at times, and that's just not going to happen if it's all just basically contrails and due to, you know, the temperatures and the amount of moisture in the air.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about grid lines too. As long as I have your ear, what do you think? Do you think that they're targeting? I mean, first of all, I assume you believe that, like, grid lines or ley lines and feel them even too. And I wonder, do you think that they're targeting those areas for chemtrails, like right along? Is that a possibility? Or I assume someone else knows that the grid lines are there if we can feel them.
So you're talking about energetic ley lines? You feel that they're, you know, spraying the chemtrails over certain energetic ley lines?
That's just a thought that's popping into my head. Just me being where I'm at and seeing what I am, because I'm pretty convinced that there's a grid line coming right out of Madison, and it just flies right by me on its way west. And I feel like there's so much happening at this one strange space. These airplanes overhead, the highway goes right there, the energy, the storms. It just feels like everything is happening in this one spot, or like along this one line. And I wonder if that's something that can be manipulated.
Yeah, well, everything could be manipulated. That's part of everything that we're hitting on. I got a message from, one of my closer friends, and just reiterating how perhaps so much of this and almost everything that we experience is really just almost a computer simulation, and a manipulation, and even down to the mundane things in life as well. And like we were talking about Buddhism and the fact that Buddha said this world is Maya, the whole world is illusion, and perhaps that's the case, and perhaps we're helping to create some of it. But it definitely seems, especially with the traveling I've done lately, that they spray the population centers way more than other areas. When you get to a big city, like recently I've gone through, say, Atlanta, I've gone through Tampa, some Orlando, some big population centers. You get to those areas and you'll find that patchwork, that grid work, the tic-tac-toe patterns everywhere. And then when you get out into the country where there's just not as many people, you might have some random spraying here and there, and you might have no spraying at all for a long time. So what they're doing is obviously geared towards the major population centers. Now, whether part of it is to keep us from seeing what's in the sky, whether that's Planet X, Nibiru, Nemesis, Wormwood, whatever it is, or if it's even more nefarious and it's basically in order to give us Alzheimer's and dementia through the aluminum and barium, or even some different diseases, by spreading bacteria and viruses. Who knows exactly? I really kind of feel like there's many programs going on in the spraying programs. I think there's more than one agenda going on. There's multiple agendas going on. They've been doing this for so long. I think they've been doing this for at least 40 years, honestly. Yeah, I would say pretty much, somewhere in that 30 to 40 years. And I do think there's more than one program going on that they're working.
It's so amazing to me that people don't believe that some of this is going on, Like, it started to leak out into the mainstream last year. I think Russia had a big let's show off day, $3 billion sky to try not to have rain that day. And it was like, well, if they spent $1 billion on it, like, what are we, for one day, to show off some planes, like, what are we doing with it? It's amazing to me that, I understand that people have a hard time with the chemicals and everything that they put in there and believing that, but at the very least, people must understand that they're trying that the manipulation exists.
Oh, it most definitely does, and thank you so much for the call and joining us.
Yeah.
And we do have a couple of...
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate everything you do. Thank you so much for everything.
Oh, my pleasure. Namaste, sister.
Take care. Talk to you later.
You too. Yeah, and it's such a big topic. Yeah, the whole topic of chemtrails, and I know we had several calls call in that time frame. So we are clear again. I think there's way more than one program going on. I do think that they want to... Right now, when you look at it, I mean, it's always the sun that they're obliterating. They're always trying to cover the sun up. That's pretty obvious. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hey, how you doing? This is Joseph. How you doing tonight?
Good, Joseph. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I just wanted to share just a couple of things. The chemtrails, different people who are catching shots of Nibiru, Planet X, Woodworm, as you said, at different times. And a lot of times it's usually done with, the different webcams, the state webcams or government webcams and stuff like that. A lot of times it's usually cut like that. And the sad part about it is that, most people are looking down. They don't usually look up. And most people are caught up in their devices, which is that phone. So most people don't look up and notice these different things throughout time. Matter of fact, throughout years now, at this point. I just kind of wanted to hit on a couple of factors the fact of the chemtrails, just right off the top, that should just kind of indicate that, like you were just saying to the lady, that there are multiple things going on with one blow, basically. So, getting people sick, doing different things to the food crops, but at the same time, hiding something above. You had President Trump a few months ago mention the fact that we're going to have a space military.
Mm-hmm.
This should be an indicator to let you know that he knows something we don't know. To come up with a space military, that means you're planning on fighting something. Or maybe is it a deception all in one? But the fact that he could bring it up and say that this will be going into effect should raise eyebrows. September 6th, when they closed the observatory, I believe that was New Mexico, they closed one. Next thing you know, they closed 6 down total. This has to be another indication that there's something up there that they're hiding from us. There are different things going on now, and a person can say, well, the solar minimum with all the different volcanoes going on, the different tornadoes and hurricanes and stuff like that. But, I'm 44 years old. I have never witnessed in my life the things that are going on, especially at such a rapid pace within the last year and a half.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. The last year, and even just since like March, things have just gone, through the roof. Just so crazy. Every day is just like, what's happening now.
Yeah, it's like every time you look up, you should look forward to basically hearing something new every single day, if not every other hour. There is something going on that is just like, wow, mind blowing. I'll be honest with you, I never really called a live channel before or a live station period. I actually have a urgent message that I would like to pass along to go along with the statements that I just made. I would recommend that everybody check out in the Bible, believers and non-believers, and look at Revelation, hold on one second. Check out Revelations chapter 12, verse 3 to 10. And this mainly applies to the people who stay on the West Coast for California. October 16th. Now this comes from God. And I know that might sound a little crazy and all that. At the end of the day, there will be a major event that will be coming from the skies on October 16th, I'm sorry. And at the end of the day, most people in California need to go as far as to Nevada to be out of the situation. It's going to be catastrophic. And there will be lives lost, and the world will never be the same after October 16th. It's going to take it to a whole new level. And for anybody who's willing to take a chance and just look at that Bible, the Revelation 12, 3 through 10, that's pretty much what's about to happen. And I just, I wanted to call in and definitely get that out to reach your listeners, reach you, your family, your friends, and anybody who is listening and who has the eyes to see and the ears to hear, and to know that what you're seeing in these days is spiritual. And it's also, entangled with that as well. But mainly spiritual. And I'm pretty sure you have heard the saying for a little while now that, that we live in the last days, and we truly are living in the last days. And so I leave you and I leave with your guests and your followers and everybody like that, that message for people who are on the West Coast in California, I would say by October 11th, they should be already gone and be to Nevada or further away from that before the 16th. And that is truly the truth.
So you're feeling like that we're talking about the event where we're going to see perhaps it's asteroids, meteors coming down into the Earth, like a storm of sorts, or are you feeling this is going to be a tsunami, earthquake?
It's actually whether you call it Planet 9, Nibiru, and if you know, and I'm pretty sure you probably do, that it has a long tail, very long, with a bunch of meteors and rocks within it, and 2/3 of that is going to hit the Earth, and that's going to cause major destruction. And I would have to go with the fact that with that happening, that could trigger earthquakes, that could trigger tsunamis, and I'm definitely probably expecting a tsunami to come along with that. What was that, in Indonesia the other day? They had a 7.8 earthquake, and we see the damage plus the tsunami to come along with that, and the damage it has done over there. And so that's pretty much what's going on. And I just know for a fact on my end, on what has been given to me from God, that the people in California definitely need to get out. They definitely need to get out. The time has come. Now, mind you, I want people to understand. I'm not saying that this is the end of the world, but this is a part of the phase that will start that building block. And it's really hard for me to even say that.
So you had a vision? Is this something that came to you in a dream, in a vision during prayer, that you saw that? And basically, it's the same thing as Mother Shipton's, dragon with its tails. And, she probably got that from Revelations, or, she saw that and it was a reaffirmation of Revelation to her. But it does feel like the same event. So did this hit you in a dream or a vision?
Well, you could say that it was told to me. I also seen it in a vision. Yeah. And I mean, and I know at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not speaking this through me. I'm saying this is actually coming from God.
Well, I feel your sincerity.
I just hope everybody will listen and get out. It's one of those things, like I've been trying to tell people, which is, have you ever been told something, somebody told you something, and you just kind of just took it like, yeah, right. And then it happens, and it's like, oh my God, I should have listened. This is one of those moments. This is truly one of those moments. And it's two ways to look at that. If a person stays, they're going to say, you know what, when it starts happening in front of them, they're going to say, oh my God, the person said that God told them this. But they're going to be in bad shape. The people who are in safe zones, and when they see this happen, wherever their faith is at, their faith will definitely be lifted, because they have been saved, because they pay heed to the words, and they hopefully go with their gut intuition, and they will leave. At the end of the day, God wants to save as many people as possible. And just like back in the historical days in the Bible, when God sends His people out to warn people, some listen, some don't. But the message has to be put out there. It has to. It has to. And truly, this is that time. And I would have never thought as a child in a million years that I would be seeing a day like this come. I would have never imagined. I mean, just to see the things that are going on, minus the Bible, minus God, the chemtrails, the GMO, this and that, I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. So, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I just wanted to, call in and put that out there. And hopefully, you'll listen and pass that message along to all the different people who are on the West Coast in California.
And what was that date again? You said October 16th.
October 16th, but you want to be gone before October 16th. October 11th, 12th, you want to be gone. I mean, because you can imagine once the signs start to come in and people start to get frantic and say, oh, well, we better get out of. You can imagine what those freeways are going to look like.
You're right. Yeah, I've experienced freeways like that. It's not a good feeling.
No, it's not. I mean, I experienced that just going to work. So, it takes me about an hour to get to work, and it's bumper to bumper, and technically the drive should probably take 10, 15 minutes, but it's taking an hour because that's just how many people it is in California.
Right.
And so,
And where are you located, caller?
I'm in LA.
Okay. So, and do you have plans to get out?
Oh, October 11th, I'm gone.
Okay. And just curious, where are you heading?
Nevada.
Nevada.
That's where I was told to go, Nevada. And so that's where I will be. And that's why I suggest to everybody else the same thing, is to go to Nevada. That's going to be the same place. So, yes.
Well, we will definitely make note of that. I mean, I will share with you guys, I shared with you before, 2 dreams I had this year that were just so vivid. It was totally as if I had just woken up and went and turned on the computer and was checking out the news. One of them was that there was an 8.3 up off the coast of Washington. It was off the coast, and it caused tremendous damage. And then the other one was that there was a quake in LA that basically split it in 2. And so these 2 dreams were just as clear as can be. They were in March and April. So they were not typical. They were like waking dreams, where they were just so vivid. And I've had that. I've had that dream too, of seeing the sky filled with so many lights that I don't know what they are, whether they're ships or asteroids coming in, but just that feeling of utter despair. So I could relate to what you're talking about.
Now, I will add to what you just said, and I'm glad that you said what you said. And also, I seen that, that basically the sky was like almost, it was splitting open. The ground was splitting open. And the way I took it was like, parts of California, parts of the West Coast is going to separate, literally. So, and it's, I mean, it's ironic that you say that you have visions of this, basically almost the same thing. And so, so yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us, and I hope you will call and join us again.
Oh, definitely. I will definitely keep in touch, and I thank you for your time, and you stay safe and your family, and everybody who's listening, the same as well. And, if anybody is like in doubt, I would just suggest that if you never prayed before, I say just pray and ask God if what I am saying tonight is true, and to give you a sign. To show you something that what I am saying to you all tonight, it is true. And he will answer that call. I promise you, he will answer that call. And all you have to do is just pray and ask him, hey, is this man who called tonight, is he telling me the truth? Show me some sort of sign.
Thank you.
And I promise.
Thank you so much for sharing, because I do believe with you too. We just have to ask and it will come to us.
Exactly. Okay, well, I'm going to let some more callers get in here and I'll stay listening in. And like I said, thank you and God bless everybody and be safe.
Namaste, my brother. God bless.
Yep.
And hello, caller. You're on the air. Who do we have with us now? Okay, we lost that one. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe we got them again. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Yeah, this is Alejandra. I'm sorry that I hit that. I got so used to hitting the thing when the thing started.
How you doing, my dear?
Oh, doing good. How are you?
Doing good. So what do you feel like talking about today?
Well, I let you know that I'm going to be moving up to Indiana. Of course, I'm going to be yelling, screaming. They're dragging me, kicking and screaming.
So you're not wanting to leave Florida and head to Indiana.
Well, like I said, I would like to stay here just a little bit longer. But Indiana was not exactly my idea of going. But I just thought I'd call in and talk to other people, let other people know that that's where I'm going at this point. I might move in another couple of years, or I don't know, any more than anything else. But I'm also the administrator for the Mary Summer Rain group also, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I also had a dream about California a while back. It was pretty much the same picture that everybody saw, the video, but I saw the devastation left afterwards. I walked through the neighborhoods afterwards in my dream as well. So there's a lot of different things that I get. I get a lot of dreams in the past that have foretold disasters as well.
Yeah, and so what are you feeling? I mean, you've been in Florida and you've been happy to be staying there. You didn't feel, I guess, quite the sense of urgency that I did in the last maybe month or so.
Yeah, remember, I did have a day before. I had that feeling the day before you guys did, remember?
Right.
It was like one of those things where you feel almost sick to your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And you just feel like you want to throw up and you don't know why. And it was such a strong feeling. Remember I told you about that?
Right. Yep. Yeah. It comes in waves too.
Yeah, it does.
It definitely comes in waves, and like we were talking about, I definitely noticed way more spraying down there. Now you've noticed the second sun as well, because we've talked about this.
Yeah, I've actually seen it about 5 years ago also. Me and a family member had to go to a different part of Orlando, and we were having to go into a convenience store I'd never been to and get a thing for our battery charger for the truck. And, one of those things that go into the cigarette lighter. And we came out, he pointed to me, look over there and look over there, and I'm like, holy crap. And yeah, you could see those lights were coming from different directions. I also sent you that video recently. I've seen it more than once also. In the Orlando, I'm in St. Cloud, so where I saw that the video I sent you was actually in between Kissimmee and St. Cloud. Now, I have seen chemtrails, but they don't do them so strongly over in this area because of Disney being over here, and Universal Studios and SeaWorld, people would notice it more. But there have been times that I do see chemtrails. But this evening, coming back from where I was going, the sky looked really interesting is the best way of saying it, because it was almost like a hazy, cloudy look to it, if you know what I mean. It was one of those kind of looks.
Right. Yeah, I do. It was bizarre down there. It just was every day so much chemtrails, so thick, so heavy. And then where I was, because I was only literally, a couple hundred yards away from the water, the red tide was just brutal, and I could feel the burning in the nostrils and creeping down into the lungs, and it's so good to feel like I could breathe normally again. It's a real blessing.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way, but when I had to go get my family member 5 years ago from Indianapolis, I noticed how dark the sky, how foggy, dark the sky was up at Indianapolis, and the sky didn't clear until we hit Georgia, around the Georgia line. And it was like the air just was fresher down here.
Yeah, I mean, I could relate to that because I lived in Ohio, and I found it very depressing to see nothing but gray skies constantly, and so that's one of the things about being up closer to the Great Lakes, with the cloud nucleation and all. So, but there's so many things going on. I mean, you do have the grand solar minimum effect going on, the obvious cooling of the planet in certain areas, but in other areas you got crazy
summer,
wild temps too.
Oh my God! The summer, the humidity was almost impossible to handle. The heat, the humidity. I mean, I was drinking Gatorade just from McDonald's. It was just that icy cold, and it just still wasn't enough. I was just soaking wet from the humidity. The heat was just too much.
Yeah, it's been extremes, and I know it's been very hot down there. And there is no perfect place. That's the basic thing. There is no absolutely perfect place. Every area is going to have its own challenges.
One thing yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that even we've seen all these massive flooding events in areas that aren't necessarily on the coast. Of course, we did have that tsunami. And the last caller was talking about some celestial events, and perhaps he was alluding to earthquakes and tsunamis as well. We'll have to see. But
yeah, well, Mary Submarine also said, which he actually got it through NOAA, said that there were going to be earthquakes and volcanoes where there have never been before. They also said that the grandmother or granddaughter was going to go first, and then grandmother would go first. I forget how the saying was. But, yeah, there's going to be earthquakes and volcanoes where they have never been before, like we saw in Hawaii. I mean, that one was extreme. I mean, it was actually coming out of the ground away from the area that usually has, too, so.
Yeah, would you share more about Mary Summer Rain? Because a lot of people are not as familiar with her as you or I.
Mary Summer Rain was originally from the Detroit area, from what I gather from the original story. She was, for some reason, she was led to the Colorado Rockies. She was going through a lot of emotional problems with herself. And she was led into the woods, and where she met this blind old Native American lady who she said, "Oh, I've been waiting for you." And she goes, "Oh," and she became her teacher in spiritual and other psychological teachings, and very spiritual mostly. And she told Noah's that she pushed her to write these books. Mary Summerine did not want to write these books, but she said, "You have to read these books for humanity's sake." So she said, "All right, I'm going to do it." And so she started writing these books back in the early 80s. The first publishing company she had problems with, they stole some of the publishing rights, and she fought with some lawyers to get them back, and she was able to get into another publishing company that was willing to put them out like she wanted them to be put out. The first one is Spirit Song, and it tells the story of how she met Noah's and some of the Phoenix days, of what we're going through now. And the second book is Phoenix Rising, and it talks about almost step by step of what is actually going on. I don't have that up because I was I use a headset, so that's why nobody is able to hear that. Didn't have any feedback with you. Let me pull up here and let me give you a little bit of background, because I have the information in the files of the Mary Submarine Appreciation Group here on Facebook. Give me half a second here. I gotta pull it up. I kind of buried my books because I'm getting ready to move, like I said, to Indiana, and I don't know where they're at right now in the boxes.
You know, what's interesting is the fact that there are so many prophecies given to so many people, and you know what? They all agree that this is the time. That's the thing, you know. It's like now is the time.
I kind of think it's spirit trying to get it to different areas of the world, just like the albino animals that are coming out now, which would be the spirit animals for the different religions if they still had a lot of them.
Right.
It's kind of how I think it's going on, is because they're trying to let, spirit is trying to let our grandmother Earth, whoever you want to call it, is trying to let them know that this is the time and this is actually happening now.
Right.
Which to me makes sense.
Yeah, I think, that's the thing too, is like, it's not just one tradition that's been given prophecies, it's many traditions.
And they put out the information, and it's, if most, we lost our holy man, or whatever you want to call it, back in the old days, and the Native Americans still have those certain religious ones that are still, no, that's not the right one. And they're still able to give them the information, but since we lost, back in the old days, there we are. Prophecies for no eyes. Okay. She was typical a medicine woman. Passed away in the 1980s. Before her death, she made several predictions about events that would occur during the millennium, except for her final visions of peace. No-eyes prophecies regarding economic collapse, climate change, and spiritual awakening have materialized. There's supposed to be global financial collapses. We've been having some of that. Financial meltdowns, stock market misdealings incline, global financial collapse, climate change, record-breaking floods. You still with me?
Yep, still here.
Okay. More intense and frequent tornadoes, earthquakes, liquefaction of soil beneath us. That's what happened with this most recent one that we had. Intensified hurricane devastation, rapid temperature inversions. That's what we've been having. Countries all over the world would experience unusual frigid winters and deadly blizzards. Summers would bring drought conditions, recalling those of the Dust Bowl. The droughts would also cause sinkholes to become a problem, swallowing homes without warning. According to Claude's, okay, this is somebody else. Some people throw these in here, and I was just reading some of, this is one of them. I thought I had put it up, but I don't see. Okay. Atmospheric, electrical, or solar activity would precede massive earth changes. Larger earthquakes would trigger a shift in the Earth's poles, bringing about massive tidal waves and destruction. Spiritual awakening, grim as these economic and geophysical disasters might be, they would usher in a period of spiritual unrest and awakening. Masses would question the truth of dogma. There would be evidence of repossession from certain religious aspects. The questioning would conclude with increased UFO sightings and interaction with other intelligences. Dimensional and extraterrestrial people would move towards acceptance of paranormal and the afterlife. And then, according to No-Eyes, the world would witness the rise of the age of peace, which would see the total equality among people, discontinuance of meat ingestion, technological advance in the form of pollution-free energy using Earth's magnetic field, global reforms in economic and social infrastructure, and the rise of the Indian nation through widespread adoption of its ways of natural living. That's pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, that says it all pretty much right there. So,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it's part of it. It's what we have going on for sure. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Leandra. It's wonderful to talk to you in person. And
Same here, Michael.
Thanks for sharing so much, my dear, and good luck with your move.
Thank you. And also one last thing I wanted to let you know. I've been seeing a lot of, we're just across the lake here, East Lake Topacalaga from the Orlando airport, and I've been seeing a lot more airlines, planes coming down real low. And this recently, I think it was yesterday, there was 2 airplane crashes off of the same small runway in Florida somewhere here.
Wow.
So there was another one in the ocean too the other day, I think, also on Sunday.
Wow.
So yeah, it's happening. All right, well, you have a great evening, and I'll talk to you hopefully next week, maybe from Indiana.
Sounds good. Take care, my dear. Have a smooth move.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
And hello, and who do we have with us now?
We have Isaiah from California, a reborn one.
My reborn brother. How is my brother tonight?
I'm doing great, actually. Great, even though I'm running low on rest. But you have an idea of why? Overall, with what's going on with my grandmother's passing, been busy with finding ways to fund, the arrangements and all that without having to ask. I'm not saying that everybody who does this, that's what happens, but I just feel that if I were to just ask for a donation with nothing in return, that hard-earned money from that other person, they might feel obliged just because, like, man, this guy's cool, whatever, I like him, and this is grandma, so yeah, I'm going to give him this money, but it doesn't come to us with good energy. So I'm finding ways so that I can give something to someone, okay, like say, for instance, a detoxification kit that I've been mastering for over a decade now, and I just ask for a donation from that, and therefore they get something that really is going to change their lives. It's something as simple as a coffee enema kit truly changes someone's life. It's happened time and again. But how's everybody doing in the EEA world out there? Hopefully everybody's doing okay, even though, you guys hearing the facts that are out there. So how you doing today, Michael? I know I already asked you, but I want to hear your voice one more time.
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. Thank you for all the work you've been doing, because I know you've been working really hard, as you always do. And I'm doing good, just trying to keep up with everything. It's been real busy, and still settling in, and still, getting in the flow and trying to get as organized as possible moving forward.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, that's all we can do is, you just said the key word, forward. So forward progress. No steps back unless you're dancing with the loved one.
Exactly.
So, one thing, I did hear one of the gentlemen before, and I want to continue off on that because it was pretty interesting, because just yesterday I found this website. I was following Spirit, going through rabbit holes, and many things that I didn't want to really release. I was going to give you some of this information, but once this gentleman said, "Well, be said," I'm like, wow. I cannot ignore that. So can you do us a favor and go to SolarSystemScope.com. SolarSystemScope, one word, .com.
Okay. Hang on one second.
And basically, while you're getting through all that, basically what I'm going to show you guys is that I'm not saying I agree with that gentleman that you can tell was 100% sincere, but I'm not saying I disagree with him either, because you'll see right now, those of you who understand magnetism, who understand physics, just plain physics, well enough, you will see what that gentleman said might have some weight to it. So let's see. Again, there might be a delay, so let me know when you're on, just in case I'm not seeing it in the screen.
Okay, so SolarSystemScope.com.
Yeah, and you can do, if you're in it already, you can go ahead and just start the online model. It's free, nothing crazy happens. You'll be able to see this model that I'm about to. So it's SolarSystemScope.com.
Okay.
Okay, you're on there. There we go. Okay, so go in it and get it started.
Okay, I did initiate. It looks like it's taken us a few moments to download, or
To get the actual updated information on there. So
There it
once
goes.
it gets started, it should be in a few seconds. Go ahead and play the button in the center bottom. You don't need to click that if you want. You can click it. I never have clicked it. I only used it one day so far. But once that play button, dude, you see a little screen down the center in the bottom. And once it comes up, go ahead and click it and start playing it. And what I want you to do is drag the cursor towards the right. It'll go up in seconds, days, years, stuff like that. So you just want to go up in hours so that people can see the progression of how the planetary alignment is going to be on around the 17 or 18. Now, I found this information out yesterday. This gentleman just so happened to say on the 16th. I'm like, how the? Okay, now I have to say. So go ahead and couple on the 18th, and you'll see. Once you stop there, I'll explain what's going on and what is being shown. Again, if you understand just the basic physics, you understand masses, bodies, they do have magnetism. The larger, the more magnetism it has. The more heat it has, the more magnetism it has, right? So, once you get to that around 17, 18 October, so go ahead and play it and just drag it slightly towards the right. Go back. You went too far? Go back?
Yeah,
You're going to have to go all the way to the opposite end. And once you get to about the 18th of October, go ahead and stop. So see, you have to be very careful. You got to go ahead and back again. Again, you probably there's probably a delay, but try to get it to October 18th.
Yeah, there is a delay. It's moving forward still.
And just leave it to where, like, you see that center, it says plus 3 minutes or plus 22 days. Just leave it at around plus 8 hours once you get at the proper direction. So if you went over, obviously go backwards, in hours, and then it'll line up, and then just stop it around October. Yeah. So I'll just keep talking until it gets there. So what's going to happen, you're going to see the alignment of, you can also pan around if you want to while it's getting there, because it's going kind of slow. Okay, it's coming up on the 18th. Go ahead and stop it when it gets there, and then pan around so that you can see the alignment that is Earth, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, that's one alignment. That's one alignment right there. The other one is minor, but it is a little bit of Venus, Earth, obviously the Moon, and Mars on that same day.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay? So we have that, right? There's other things I'll show you later on about what's happening in 2021 or so. It's another crazier alignment, but we'll talk about that some other time. So now, can you please go to that solarham.net? And this is what's going to freaking ice the cake, if you want to put it that way. So go ahead and solar.net.com, and then we're going to do that same thing we did last time with the GOES satellite.
Solarham.net?
Yeah, solarham.net.
Okay. And then we go GOES 13.
Yeah, GOES 13. So click on the actual yellow writing. Oh, wait. No, sorry, not that one. Sorry, that's the wrong one. You're going to have to scroll down a little bit, and you're going to go to the CME prediction models on the left-hand side. Okay, there's a dark blue one, and there's a white one. So click on the Open CME Tracker.
Open CME Tracker. I remember before going straight to that GOES 13, but open.
Yeah, no. This time, yeah, there's something different that I need to show you guys. Okay. Yeah. So once you get to that other blue screen where it's only those circles, go ahead and click on the actual white screen of that blue. What do you call those? Those kaleidoscopes or windmills or whatever. So once you get to that white one, let it play. It's gonna be playing. Mind you, this one is hardly ever updated. I've been checking it daily, and they just updated it about 4 days ago, and it was not updated for over a month. I don't know what they were trying to hide, but it wasn't. Now it's updated. Now, are you in that screen? Because I don't know if there's a delay and all that.
I'm still sitting on solarham.net, so I didn't see it. I know the GOES 13 there, but you don't want to go on that. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, go towards the bottom left to the right. Sorry, the left. Sorry, the bottom left, where it says the Open CME Tracker. Click on that one. There's, like I said, they look like kaleidoscopes, like windmill circles, on the left bottom, on the left side.
Oh, there it is. Okay, Open CME
Yeah.
tracker. There we go.
Yeah. So once you get to that, click on the white box, on the actual white box. Let me know when you're in there.
To open animation?
Yes. Because once you get to see the actual CME, that somehow, some way, is coming straight at us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can see
see
that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what date does it show that it hits? It hits around the 4. But, where's your... I can't find your screen. But yeah, so,
Yeah, so, I mean, is this, like we were talking about in my, yeah, it looks like it hits on the 3rd. Yeah, so it's going to hit tomorrow, the 3rd or the 4th. So this,
exactly.
is this the whole Trump thing then? Is this what we're talking about with the message?
Well, I mean, one thing, not necessarily, but as you can see, there's a correlation. I mean, nothing is coincidence. One thing I have noticed that I never ever noticed before, when I did spot the CMEs like this, there was only one bubble, one loop coming at us. There was never a black and a white one. Black and white, hello? Some of you who know esoteric knowledge know about the checkered flooring, okay? So I don't know what they're alluding to, but the information is there. And I wish I can explain everything to you, but it'll get boring of all these things, how the plasma and the density and the speed of the solar wind and all that is affecting us, but it's all there, people, and you can see it from north and south to the right of that big circle, and then you go see east and west, how the energy is transferring. If you see the one from east and west, somehow that energy bubble just appears out of nowhere, and it just blows on us on that 4th or 5th day. Now, we won't get the effects until 4 or 5 days later, and if you play, if you go back one more time, sorry guys, but I'm telling you, this is going to be great information. I'll go back to that same screen one more time before you pick that on the white square, and actually do the animation of that blue screen. You might have to click on the actual yellow writing for it to go to the actual screen.
So underneath the latest CME analysis?
Let's see, latest CME, I think that's what it is. Is it that dark blue screen?
No,
So the one I see is that big blue screen that says WSA Enlil, and then look at the name.
yeah, I know, Enlil. I mean, you know, the names, come on, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous how they're throwing it in our faces. So in case you're there, you should be able to see a dark blue screen with 2 big circles that look like those Disneyland popsicles. Hello. But once you get to play that animation, and then it's going to show what's hitting goes A's and goes B's, okay? And you're going to see there's a lot of energy coming. What is it? On the 8th is going to hit us. Actually, no, on the... Is it 8th? Yeah, on the 8th is going to hit us. You're going to see that big orange swirl that's going to hit us on the 8th. And then not only that, 7 days later, there's a bigger, huge, more powerful source of energy coming. And we haven't had these in a long time. And if you guys haven't noticed, that Mexico area where the fracture, where the plate tectonics fractured, where that big earthquake was around 8.2 around this time next year, guess what? It's waking up again. There's been a lot of 4.5s and higher lately, so that matches what the women, the beautiful heroine of Love and Light was saying, that California might split off. And that whole San Andreas fault lines is way more active than ever before. Now, last thing, if there's nothing else you feel like sharing with me, with the family, is Helena Slump.
Right.
Be careful with that word, meaning go slowly. Hell in a slump will come from paradise. If you guys notice where Fissure 8 was, you can go to why did I forget the name of it? The Google Earth. and you can click over that area, that edge, and it tells you, the elevation and all that, and you'll see that in just that particular area, there's an insane sheer drop. Now, if you guys kept up with that, you would see that a lot in that particular area just built up and actually created a new coastline. Well, guess what? There's nothing under that. That's going to get very heavy eventually with the way the Earth is expanding. That's going to drop about, it's about a 16,000 foot or kilometer. I forgot what it was. I think it's foot. 16,000 foot drop. And the one that they say that happened before is more south. That's only like an 8 or 9,000 foot drop. And people, somehow, some way, people are not. I don't understand how they're not seeing that all that buildup that Fisher A caused is right on the perfect spot to create that freaking tsunami that happened about 87,000 years ago. That's gonna happen again. When? Who knows? But that magnetism that's happening on the 16, 28, somewhere around there, that's happening from this point on, even worse than before, might cause some shifts. And last thing is, I'm going to send you a lot of information on the the anthropoidal theory of Dutchison, how 100% proof that it is true. There's that one earthquake that's been getting pretty crazy in the middle, next to the Horn of Africa, southeast. Okay, it's always dead center of that Y. Eventually, you can show that to people on one of your other ones, because it'll just take too long. I want to pass the mic, I mean, I love to talk, but I want to pass the mic. And what that is telling us, last thing is, this is going to really interest a lot of people that are into the Dutchison scene. Okay, there's always that phenomenon about that 10-kilometer earthquake. Well, I figured it out. Most of the places where that 10-kilometer earthquake, they shouldn't be 10 kilometers. It should be a lot deeper. And what's happening is when they have those 10-kilometer deep earthquakes, that's the protocol they use to put whenever there's an earthquake deeper than 599 kilometers. What does that tell you? It's close to the core. Those earthquakes tell you that there's seismic activity, there's pressure, there's something happening in our core more than has ever happened before. And it's exuding out, it's reflecting out, as above, so below, as inside, so outside. Polar shift from the inside out. This is why I've been so adamant about the detoxification kits. Because yes, even though it's going to be physical, we can shift. I swear to you, I know it sounds crazy, my beautiful, benevolent warrior brothers of love and light, but we can shift. For all you know, right now, this is a dream. Okay? And as long as you're without fear, you will shift. You will not suffer. Your body will not suffer. You will shift somehow, some way to the ideal reality. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just the way it works.
Yeah, we have to be detoxing in every way, every day at this point. Yeah, that's got to be one of the prime things that we're doing every single day.
Exactly, and that's why I started I've been working on it for a very long time, but I finally started finalizing it this year. It's called the 1, 2, 3, 4 flush, because it's 4 planes of existences that you're detoxifying with this program. You get a total reboot from physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Don't forget, I am a veteran that suffered from severe PTSD, and this is how I found the light. This is how I know how to bring people out of darkness. Oh, and that's it. It's the raven is calling. The raven is calling. Look into the raven, the spirit totem raven, and you will see that there is nothing to worry about. Of course, naturally, we will, but the more you do, the less you'll be as a child. Just like Jesus of Nazareth said, if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, it doesn't say if you want to get accepted to the kingdom of heaven, you must die first, then become like a child, then go into heaven. No. He just stated if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, doesn't matter when, you must become as children. Doesn't mean you need to act like children and try to get rid of the first person that gets in your nerves. No. That just means be unbiased. Be non-judgmental, unconditionally loving, live in the moment. Don't worry about tomorrow. Live in the moment. Don't worry about that. Live in the moment. It's beautiful.
It's all about the ride.
Exactly. That's yeah. So I mean that's why I don't. Anyhow, yeah, I was gonna say something else, but it's not about this. I was gonna ask you a question. Geez, have you guys noticed? Yeah, I'll tell you. You can see Venus during the day. It's supposed to be Venus, but it's not Venus. And I have been able to, it's been recorded for over, since, what was it, 2013 is when I noticed it. Okay, and it's out in the sky. So for instance, around 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that would be 6, it'll be different times actually, but 3:30 p.m., simple. Southern California, Pacific Standard Time, just look south, look up about 50 degrees, and scan, and you'll find it eventually. You'll be like, what the? And I'll send you some videos, and you'll be like, wait, that is not Venus. That is a sphere that is pretty close to us, because we can see it just like we can see the moon during the daytime. Because that's the only way we can see something that's during the daytime, is because it's closer than what we think. And technically there's 4 bodies, the 4 wandering stars, okay, they're not planets, okay, which reflects the 4 horsemen.
Oh, go on. Say that again, or get into a little more detail with that one.
So, many don't know the story, the full story of Jesus of Nazareth's birth. There was supposed to be 4 wandering stars, or 4 kings, however you want to call it. Well, technically, yeah, 4 bodies of men that came, but they were following 4 stars. They knew this from way ahead of time. These sages, whatever they were, they knew that on this date, and they were sages from different places. Okay, somehow, some way, they all knew, say, for instance, like it's Nostradamus. They just knew that this planetary alignment and this and that and blah, 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 this is going to happen. So something's telling me, Spirit's telling me that on this day, this is going to happen. I got to follow it. I got to follow Spirit. Then somehow, all 4 met up. But there was only 3 stars. There was not 4. So what that tells me is what's going to happen this time around. The 4th one is technically behind the other one. They're going to become blind, and then we won't be able to see the 4th one. We might not even be able to see 2 of them. But the 4 horsemen, okay, is supposedly Mars, supposedly Saturn, supposedly Jupiter, and supposedly Venus. And you can see them all during the day at one time. And I have several, for several years now, proof of it, but somehow, some way, Spirit, maybe, took away 4 terabytes of information. Because I see a lot of benefit of why that information went away.
Very interesting. You know, there's definitely extra bodies in our solar system now. And I was talking to Steve at WSO, and you know, my gut is telling me that they were always here, and it's just a matter of us rising up in vibration. So now we're noticing them again, and the whole planet's ascending and rising up in vibration. But they've always been here, just on a different dimension than us, a different vibratory wavelength. And because we're ascending now, we're ascending up and into where they are already in a material reality, and so we're basically joining them, and at the same time our planet is getting the effects of it.
Yes, the same thing that happened to Mars and Venus is going to happen to Earth, but we are shifting with it to 5th dimension. So the physical 3rd dimensional Earth is going to end up basically like Earth, like Mars or Venus. Now think about this: planet is already up. You know, I have no way to prove it to you guys, but from different sources I have gotten that 2.7 billion years ago Venus reached their Christ consciousness as a whole, and then poof, they ascended. Jupiter has done the same thing. All the planets have done the same thing. Okay, so it's our turn.
Right.
And again, how many planets are we seeing? Mercury. Mercury you can kind of see it still, but it's not even Mercury. It's the bigger ones: Mars, Venus, Neptune, not Neptune, Uranus. Wow, even another one. Jupiter and Saturn. And again, remember Saturn and Jupiter, those are believed to be actual suns back in, way back in the days. And there's so much proof that shows that those Saturn and Jupiter are actually binary system stars. But after certain things that happen, just like the gentleman said, that somehow, some way, the astros are going to hit. Well, I told you once before, not too long ago, on live, that sometimes these the toroids, okay, 12,000 years ago, they actually hit Earth. And that's what one of the reasons why there was a catastrophic loss with Atlantis. Okay, so that is one thing that might happen this time around. Okay, because of why, like you said, these bodies have always been here. It's just the way, not only cycles, but the way they revolve, their axis, not their axes, but their revolutions around. Okay, create certain magnetism. Some don't show up until way later. Because again, I believe, it's not that I believe, there's so much proof, especially in the Mayan calendar, not only the Mayan calendar, but culture, also the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians, okay, that our sun is binary star system is Alcyon.
Yeah.
And if you break that word down, Alcyon, you can almost spell out Alc1. I mean, that's not a coincidence. Again, there's a planet that revolves around Alcyon that's called Maya, M-I-A, and M-A-I-A, Maya.
Right.
But it's still the same as like the Sanskrit, Maya, illusion.
Right.
But there is no illusion, but there is illusion.
Yeah, you know,
because you are the illusion.
And in the law of one, you know, the entity that channels that is Ra, and Ra is a collective of the ascended people of Venus, according to the law of one. So,
yes,
yeah, they've reached unity consciousness, basically.
Yes, and Leonardo da Vinci and Nikola Tesla was actually quoted as saying that he is. I was going to say he was. No, he is. He don't cease to exist. He is from Venus. And as a child, he would visit it. Actually, most of us listening right now, most of us, whether you believe it or not, it's okay. But if you believe in it, remember, believe is at least accepting what you're being fed. Meaning if it resonates with you, you believe. Once you experience it, you know. You no longer believe. They want you to stay in belief because when you believe, you don't live as being. You don't be the life. So you have to be living in order to see it, and then that way you'll believe it. Yeah, some cultures believe that Venus was never really in our solar system, and it comes around just like they say, and they builded us. And that Venus is going to get really close to us, and that makes sense to me because it's happening right now. The biggest star that you can literally see during the daytime is supposed to be Venus. And it looks blue, just like the blue Kashina.
Interesting. Interesting. So we had some people asking, do you have your own channel?
I do, but back in when was it? 2013, just like that thing happened, I started to wake up to a whole different level because I already had been awake. And I couldn't charge anymore. I had a gym. I owned my own gym and everything, and I couldn't charge anymore. And I was directed to go outwards, and that way I can help people with their traumas, meaning in a transpersonal effect. Mind, body, spirit, all that good stuff, right? After a while, I started to do the spiritual church search where it's deeper, where something told me July 3rd to just leave, go north. And I was not feeling bad, but not great. And I had just watched a video of a waterfall, okay? And I thought it was in Japan, so like one day I'm going to visit that. That's where I need to escape. And I forgot it was July 3rd, and something just told me, like, go north. And I was like, all right, it was 9 p.m. And when I figured it out, that it was that my body did not want to be where all those fireworks were at, because back then I was pretty bad with my PTSD. And I took off. By the time I was done, I almost crashed several times. By the time I finally completely gave up, I went to sleep, woke up, and the same waterfall was there, which is Maui Falls. And I swear to you, I've been to Japan, and I could have swore that place was in Japan, and I went there. But anyways, ever since that happened, I stopped working on my channel, okay, but somehow, some way, it thrived. I haven't done a single thing in over 4 years, and it's thriving, but pretty soon I'm going to revamp it, and it's going to explore. So yes, pretty soon expect to have access to my channel, and it's going to be more towards creating, building, flourishing, cultivating real, benevolent warriors of light and heroines of light. Okay, because I've been studying this since when I was a kid. You don't have to believe me, but it's fine. But I know how to work your body from the inside out in a interdimensional aspect. And you're going to get transformed from the inside out, and it's way easier than everybody thinks. The thing is, though, is you got to surrender to the moment. Everybody's afraid of the word surrender. Don't forget that surrender is not submission. Submission is completely giving up and surrendering life, everything. Surrendering, okay, that's just ceasing to exist along with resistance. Once you surrender to the moment, you're not resisting anymore. Just like the great Chinese proverb states, he who treads water gently travels farthest. Meaning, surrender to the current. Just go with the flow and adapt as you go. And go into state of mind, and you'll really get into the flow state.
Exactly. Allow the Tao to carry you, basically, instead of fighting against it.
Yes. And the only way you can do it is become as a child. Because then you become curious, and everybody's like, what is that? What is that? What is that? You ask in the proper way, not in the unconditioned, egotistical way.
Very beautiful, my brother. Thank you for sharing. As always, it was very enlightening and so much to always think about with the conversations that we have with you.
Yeah, most definitely. And hopefully you guys enjoy my channel as well. And like I said, mine is more towards the actual body, which is very similar to what you're doing, but yours is more towards bringing awareness for the physical realm, which is great, which is very great, because nobody does it the way you do. For the most part, your information is unbiased, and that's the way it should be. You're just stating what you find, and that's it. Every once in a while, you add your opinion, but not very often, and that is beautiful that you do that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, my brother, as always. Much love. Namaste.
Definitely, much love. One life, for together our light will shine much brighter. Don't limit your creativity. One love. Peace.
Peace, brother. So that's Netsaya, as you guys know. Definitely a regular. Lots of things we touched on there. So again, he's kind of lending credence to what we were talking about with that other caller, and with the last video I did talking about President Trump's, well, his warning that he's putting out tomorrow, a test of the new emergency alert system going to your cell phones. And so maybe it's not a test, or we could say maybe it's a dry run, and then what's going to come is the real deal. And as I was saying in that other video, the second one I put out today, there's a lot of people talking about, something big is going down shortly, like within the next week, something very, very big. If we have a CME coming this way, if we have, if we're going to lose the grid, it'll definitely be a test. And perhaps it's not the big loss, but perhaps this is that wake-up call, that shot over the bow that we've been kind of waiting for. And I've definitely felt that today too, as far as I think it is a good day to go out there and stock up a little bit more on, some dry goods that are going to last just in case. Thinking about different things, hey, if you've been thinking about going and getting a generator, maybe now's a good time. Things along those lines, just to get yourself a little bit better prepared. And as Nasaya is saying, the biggest preparations have to be done spiritually. And we're intertwined. We're beings that are physical, we're mental, emotional, and spiritual. So we have to basically be detoxifying and getting prepared in all ways. That's the big thing. We have to prepare on all levels. If you're listening to the Fifth World in there, she's talking about ascension and rising up in vibration, and that's ultimately what it's about. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to be necessarily physical when we ascend either. So that's something else to think about. You know, I don't know the name of Nitsaya's channel. He's never actually shared that with me, but I will find it out for you guys. And I will let you guys know what it is. So we do have an open line, and I know there's been several calls that haven't gotten through. Again, it's 614-400, as Mark's just doing, 5835. So anybody that wants to make a call and get in, we still have about a half hour left tonight. And yeah, tomorrow's the big day with the emergency alert, the new system coming through, and we have a lot of interesting things going on here. And hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hello, Michael. Peace and goodwill to you. This is Angela.
Hi, well, glad you called in. What would you like to talk about tonight?
Well, earlier in the conversations, people had been talking about chemtrails, and I don't want to do any fear-mongering or anything like that at all, but I did notice those a lot back when I lived in Bakersfield, because there's a lot of open sky there. It's very flat, and I lived there in 98 till 2009, and I just noticed like such a huge increase in those. And then I moved up more north to like central California, and they've just been so bad over the years. And I did a lot of research on them, and you know, I couldn't believe how faceted they were, you know. And I have a friend in Indiana. Her name's Carol, and her and I used to study ancient texts together. And she had told me about organite. And at first I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I have no chemtrails in my skies at all. And I'm, you know, at first I was like, what? Because like I have them every day. And she's like, no, seriously. She's like, there's none above my house at all since I've made these things. And what they are is they're actually an invention from a man named William Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an inventor back in the time of, and studied with Sigmund Freud. And I mean, you can look him up, and it's easy to find information about him, but a lot of his work was destroyed. And so my friend Carol had, you know, she would tell me, you know, you gotta make these things and test them out yourself. And so I was like, okay. And so like I was watching a bunch of videos on them and everything, and seeing how people make them, and, you know, writing down all the ingredients and all that stuff that you need to get to make it. And even as I was watching the videos, I could feel some sort of energy even coming through the phone just watching them. And so I got all the stuff together, and today I made 2 tower bombs, which help around the towers, you know, because we have all these horrible frequencies that's bombarding us all the time. And then I made a pyramid today too, and they're actually still drying, but during the whole time that I was making them, my whole sky above my house in like a 2-mile radius was clear. And so I don't know if you've ever heard of those or not before, have you?
I'm familiar with Wilhelm Reich, and you know, it's been a while since I have read anything about that, so please do share the details, if you will.
Okay, so what you do is you get a crystal, and well, what I did with my crystals first is I soaked them in water and let them sit out in the sun just to kind of charge them. And then I took them in my hand and I spoke over it to deprogram it. And then I put it in my right hand and prayed over it, you know, for, you know, love and, you know, good clear skies and peace and, you know, all that good stuff. So I did that, and then you wrap copper wire around it, and then you put it upside down in a pyramid, and then you pour resin in it, and you can put anything really that you want into it. And a lot of people say you should do organic, inorganic, organic, inorganic, you know, layers of that sort, you know. So I actually called a machine shop today, and I asked anybody if they had, you know, some extra machining parts that I could put into my pyramids and my tower bombs. And this guy was like, yeah, I've got some. How much do you need? And I'm like, I don't know, just like £1. And So I went over there and I talked to him today, and he was totally awake. I talked to him for like half an hour. It was really, really cool. I was so excited because I'm like, hey, someone in my community like knows what I'm talking about. You know, like you think that sometimes you're the only one, you know, and everyone else in your family thinks you're crazy. Like everyone in my family thinks I'm crazy. And so I came home and I made those today, and my skies were totally clear. It was so awesome, and I just wanted to share it with your viewers and your channel so that other people can be informed that Organite really works, and it's an amazing tool for this generation.
And are you talking about just regular quartz crystals?
Yes. I mean, you can use any crystals you want. I mean, I've seen people put all sorts of different crystals in theirs before, but mainly they use a clear quartz crystal, and then they add other crystals or other gems. You know, like rose quartz is supposed to be like a very loving quartz. I mean, a loving, like, stone, you know, that produces, you know, loving type of energies. And there's all sorts, I mean, you have to just research it, you know, and know for yourself what the stones, what properties they have, you know. But yeah, it's a really neat thing, and I was super excited that you had a live show today, and I was so glad that I got in to call, because the last 2 shows I've tried to call in and talk about other things, but tonight I just really wanted to share this.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. That was an interesting call, and something that will open up a lot of minds to a new possibility there.
And thank you so much, Michael, for all the love that you put out into the world. I just really adore your channel, and I really admire you very much.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for being part of the family.
All right, you have a good night.
You too. Namaste.
Okay. Thank you. Namaste. Good night.
So that was an interesting call, and yeah, Wilhelm Reich. That's one of those very interesting people to you know, look up and get into, and you know, check it out from. You know, I've actually delved so much more into the Eastern side of things with QiGong, and you know, when you delve into some of the people like Wilhelm Reich as well, Rudolf Steiner, fascinating stuff as well. And it's good to check it out from all different perspectives, and you know, take these Western scientific minds as well, their perspective on life force and what is possible in you know, manipulating and using the life force for positive means. So that was really a good call. So we do have an open line again, guys, 614-500-5835, and let us know what you want to talk about. Very good calls, very, very interesting. And as we were saying before, getting back to just basically, you know, the feeling that's out there that there's something imminent, and perhaps, you know, perhaps we will lose the grid for a little while. Perhaps there's something else that's going on. And we do have another caller right now. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hey, this is Eric. How you doing?
Good, Eric. How you doing?
Good, good. I just was listening to the last caller. I just tuned in, and was she talking about Organite?
She was.
I thought that was a metal.
Organite, here, let's look it up here and get, I know, William Reich. There we go. So it's basically a substance made of resins, metals, and quartz that balances and harmonizes bioenergy. Yeah, Wilhelm Reich was an Austrian psychiatrist, and I remember he did a lot of experiments with orgone energy, which is ki, prana, you know, the life force. And so it's a 50-50 mix of resin and metal shavings, and quartz crystal is added to the organite mix for its piezoelectric properties.
And you crush it up, I would imagine, but...
Yeah, you know, there's different ones here. It looks like they're kind of almost layered in a pyramid shape, and a pyramid shape, of course, we know has certain properties to that as well.
Well, yeah, I think if you think about a pyramid, especially if she's talking about putting it in the sun, and I know these organites, you place them around your house, and they were talking. She didn't mention. Well, she did mention the frequencies, but I saw another show. I think it was Jordan Sather, and he sells those too. I mean, it sounds like a lot of work to me, but I guess if you have the time to make them. But he was talking about, you can put them next to the antennas and everything. I don't know. To me, it sounds like if an antenna's a mile from your house, it's not going to do much good. But I don't know. There's something to that. I mean, I used to be a person that didn't. I always bought in spirituality, but I didn't know so much about the energy healing side. And I started looking into it, and I have a friend that's into Reiki and everything, and started talking to him about it, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's all we are, is energy. So, I mean, it also makes sense that modern science doesn't look into it too. Like, they're all about the money. But another thing I wanted to mention was antioxidants. And, people worried about pollution and frequencies and all this stuff. I mean, I don't take a lot of antioxidants, but I make sure I take them every day. And I think it helps. I mean, I'm healthy, knock on wood. But, like, not just grapeseed, or not just vitamin C, but like grapeseed extract and resveratrol and that stuff, I swear by it. I've taken it for 20 years. So, and if you're into exercise and everything, it helps with blood flow. So I honestly think a lot more people should, take more than just, I'm sure everyone doesn't just take vitamin C, and that's something I swear by. Every flu season, I take, 500 milligrams like 3 times a day, and I usually don't get sick. So I think if more people knew that, more people would be healthy.
Right. No, I agree, for sure. I do think when we start to really work with our own energetic structure, then we could at some point start to almost bypass those things. But I do think that they help tremendously. And
yeah,
for sure.
From what I've read, like the OPC I take, it's an isotonic mix. So it's just a little, you mix it with water and a certain amount of powder, and it's supposed to absorb really well. And I think it helps. And I've taken the capsules of grapeseed extract and whatnot, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. But the isotonic mix, if I take that and like I go work out or something, I can tell the blood flow's up. So let's do it something. And another thing I wanted to mention, I think I might have mentioned this in a comment. I don't know if it was on your show, this a while ago, but I'm in Florida too. I'm on the East Coast, and I never see chemtrails here. And it's not that I know that they're real, and I know that they're there. I mean, I've seen all the patents, and I mean, it's basically public knowledge. It's been admitted to, just not on a big platform where everyone can hear. But my theory is that they spray in the middle of the state, and they let the winds kind of carry it out here, so they don't really have to spray out here. I'm not in a very high populated area, so it's not like they're trying to avoid a bunch of people seeing them. I mean, I know you're on the West Coast. Do you see a lot over there?
I did. I moved up into the Smokies now. So.
Oh, that was the picture. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm really like.
But I did. I saw a ton of it, and it would be really right along the water's edge, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Right along the water's edge, and then it would catch the air currents and then just float on in. And I think if you are in a less populated area, there's definitely going to be less of them.
Yeah. Well, because Florida, we have the converging sea breezes, and in the summer, and that's where we get all the storms. And so maybe, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just something I think about, But that made me think of something else, and I forgot it.
So where are you pretty much? Are you like in the
I'm in
middle?
Brevard County, Melbourne.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I've been a listener for a while, and I comment sometimes. I mean, so I don't really care. I mean, I'm not worried about people being crazy or anything. I think we've got a pretty good community, you know what I mean? So, I think we can all kind of share a little bit more about ourselves. But, gosh, I had something I wanted to say, and then it's kind of a tiring day. But, so you moved, is it a lot cooler up there right now where you are?
It is. I mean, typically during the day it gets up to like the mid-high 70s, and at night it drops down into like 58 to 60. So it's wonderful sleeping weather and very, very comfortable. But you know, the thing I noticed the most is the less EMF, just like less electromagnetic energy. So it feels just way clearer, cleaner, crisper. Calmer, you know, so that's good, and we're, you know, I'm basically kind of, you know, renting a place while I scour the area for a permanent spot, and probably will end up going even farther out than I am now, because I'm really enjoying being like way out in the country, so it's really peaceful.
I have an ex-girlfriend that lived, she was in Kentucky, let's say like the southwest part of the state. And I went up there a couple times, you know, to drive through Asheville. That's a cool area. But they say, I mean, if you're wanting to be like in a safe zone, there's say the west side of the Appalachians. Not, you know, like on the west side of the mountain range, but still, you can still be in the mountains. I don't know. That's just what I heard. I'm just trying to I'm hoping for the best. I think everything's going to be okay. I mean, we're having, you know, obviously we're having. Oh, and that's one thing I wanted to bring up. Anyone in Florida or Louisiana, I don't think any of the weather channels are talking about it, but there's a system developing down, or area of disturbance, I guess they call it, down in the Caribbean, and the forecast, the models are showing it moving up towards us, which is always something else that you don't want to think about. And you know, I've lived here my whole life, but in 2004, I finally had a hurricane that really affected me, and it was Francis. And I lived in Cape Canaveral, so I was right on the beach. And of course, we evacuated, but we just evacuated, I don't know, inland, like 15 miles, and stayed at a friend's house in West Melbourne. And, you know, I'm driving back to once they let us back on the island, I'm driving back to my place. And I lived by myself, just one bedroom apartment, but it was a solid brick building. I wasn't really that worried about it. Get there, everything looks fine. And I go into my apartment, and just the one part of the building that got damaged, it ripped a piece of the roof off above my apartment, off everything. I mean, I opened the door expecting everything to be fine, and I could have cried. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, soaked carpets, soaked walls, and like I said, I never worried about hurricanes too much prior to that. So until you experience it, it's not like that was a bad season, but you know, it was a bad outcome for me. So I'm always a lot more nervous now, you know, especially when I'm on the coast. And the building I live in now is wood, so I mean, obviously I'm going to evacuate. Now, I did stay here during whatever that was, Irene last year, but that wasn't that bad by the time it got over to us. But some of these storms now, they seem to be a lot bigger, covering a lot more area.
They are. They definitely are. There's no doubt about that. And that was Irma, and yeah, that was an interesting one.
Well, that nailed you over where you are.
Yeah, it went right over, and I left, you know, and actually went out to New Mexico.
You have to, yeah.
But it was amazing when we got back. You know, there was no damage to the house at all, and I mean, there was trees down all over the place, but there was no damage to the house. So, yeah, it was a blessing and felt protected. But it was also like a trial run because I could feel that sense. And, you know, one of the things, I've had many, many dreams of being in a really bad situation, like with things going on around me, and I was always in Florida. And so it was interesting because those dreams came when I was in other states, because I've lived in like 7 states. And so I did feel, even though I love Florida, really did love it, I felt a huge sense of relief being out of it now, you know, because it feels, I don't know, it feels a little free and clear in some ways, because I could definitely sense, you know, especially after Irma, it was kind of, it felt like it was a trial run that if I decided to stay there, something else was going to come that was going to be much worse at some point.
Well, that area historically, at least in recent memory, I mean, you guys have, Southwest Florida's got hit a few times badly. So I would be nervous if I was there too. I just, like I said, I've been here my whole life. I just can't leave. It's just, you know, my family's here too, but, you know, I just couldn't see myself living anywhere else. I grew up here, you know, I'm just totally ocean oriented, always have been, surfed my whole life. That's, you know, if you're into that, you don't quit. So, but I just hope nothing, I hope there isn't anything that happens that changes my mind about that, you know. But I don't know. Like I said, even if I did evacuate and I come back and everything's just going well, you know, I rent. I don't have renter's insurance, but, you know, I don't have a whole lot that a TV and computer I'll bring with me. I think the one thing that I'd want to salvage the most is my CD collection, because it's stuff that you can't get, you know. I don't even know. I guess they still sell CDs, but I'm sure they're going to go the way of the record before too long, you know. But I think if you're at a higher elevation, you're going to have the air is more crisp, always, and you might, even though there might be towers around you ever notice when anywhere I've gone in the mountains, if there's not a lot of towers around, especially if you're in a valley, you don't have service, and if you're over a hill, you're probably getting blocked by a lot of it. So that's probably true. So, you know, and I'm sure that the air is, well, humidity's got to be lower than it is here.
Yeah.
I think the only reason I don't hate it is because I'm used to it. You know, I don't really, you know, and I go to some family members used to live in Colorado, Southwest Colorado. I go out there and visit almost every year and get snowboard. And, you know, I had fun, but after about a week or so, I was ready to come home. I was over the cold. So you really do get a lot less tolerance to the cold. You get used to the heat, but you get less tolerance.
You definitely do. I mean, I went from Florida to Ohio in November of 2014, and you know, I went from Florida where it was still like around 80, you know, and Ohio, God, we had an actual temperature that was below zero in November, and it was like, you got to be kidding me, you know. And I could not get warm. One of the people in the Deborah in the chat room is asking how Zeke adapted, and Zeke's my dog. He's my rescue, and he's pretty much black and brindle. He hates the heat, so he is thrilled to be up here. He's like just crazy to be up here, and he runs around like a madman, you know, up and down the mountains, and he just loves the cool weather. So he's adoring it.
He's got longer hair, right?
Well, he's
like more of a coat.
He just runs hot. He definitely runs hot. Yeah. So he loves it, and he seems like a younger dog here and much more calm. Plus, I think he does like, you know, the fact of, you know, just being in the middle of the woods. So there's really like,
oh yeah,
you really can't see any of the neighbors, which is nice too.
And I think, you know, I mean, the heat, even though it also feels oppressive, but it seems to definitely affect your respiration too. If you're breathing in hot, humid air, it doesn't seem like you get enough oxygen or as much. You got to breathe a lot more. So he's probably got a lot more energy, you know. And that makes me think of my sister had gotten a Burmese mountain dog here in Florida like 10 years ago because they wanted one.
Wow.
What are you doing? That dog's going to be miserable. It stayed inside the whole time, but, you know, it'd go outside for like 10 minutes, and poor thing, you know, they can't sweat, so it's like tongue's hanging halfway out its mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, now that's a hairy dog to be in Florida.
Yeah, that's you know, the ones you see in the cartoons with the thing around their neck.
Yep.
You know, the water thing. It's not that one, but it's a similar breed. It's like a big bear of a dog. And people would be afraid of him. Like, they'd shaved him, you know, and he looked like a Rottweiler. His coloring was. He'd
Right.
come running up to people, and they'd be all freaked out. I'm like, oh, no, he's a Burmese mountain dog. He's not a Rottweiler. I mean, just the most gentle dog, you know, and just real sensitive. He was emotionally sensitive. It was funny. Like, if they'd scold him, he'd go sulk in the corner for a half hour and stuff. But they only live, I don't know, I think maybe 10 years is a long life for him. So this was 10 years plus ago, so he's passed on by now. But it wasn't a good idea to get, I mean, I just don't think, I guess he had a good life. But, you know, dogs like to go outside, and he had to be miserable. You know, and I know, you know, he probably would have stayed outside for as long as you let him, and he would have had heat stroke if you let him. It's just, even when they shaved him, and he looked real funny too. So, but well, glad you moved up to where you feel more comfortable, you know. And like I said, I do have that anxiety, that hurricane anxiety. This time of year is the time, and it's I'm looking on the weather channels and stuff. Everything's looking clear. And I heard a couple people say, "Oh, maybe we're through the worst of it." And then I watched Thor News, and you know, and a couple of people on Twitter apparently are claiming that this could be a system. So I don't know. The sooner we know about them, you can get prepared mentally, and as far as supplies and, you know, and get out of there if there's a storm coming out. I remember I didn't evacuate during Hurricane Floyd, and lived in Stewart at the time. And my sister and a friend of mine decided to hole up at his house, and it was a wood house. And this was, you know, I was a Category 5, and it was coming straight for us. But the weather was saying it was going to turn at the last minute. And within the last, I don't know if we got drunk, like the last 12 hours, like, oh, screw it, or, you know, pardon my language, but, you know, we're going down maybe, so we got drunk and we sat there and just watched the weather, because it was too late to go anywhere at that time. And that was scary, you know, just because we all knew, that if this thing didn't turn, we were probably dead. We were in a wood house, it's a Category 5, and it's just, there's probably no surviving it. You know, we could have gotten lucky, but it would have been, you know, total luck or protection by a higher power, because that thing was, you know, and the fact that it turned like right when it got to the coast. They kept saying it was going to, and it did. Made me a little suspicious. Back then, you know, that was 99. I was like, how do they know that? And, you know, I can understand when they say, oh, well, you know, it'll kind of make a veer up this direction, but this thing it came straight for the coast and then turned and went north. It was like it was on a track.
Yeah, well, I mean, those type of things make you wonder if things are being steered.
Well, you know, you see some of the replays of Hurricane Florence, and you could see the energy band. Well, I'm sure you've seen it. I've seen the little movie play of it, where it seems to originate off of West Africa, and it shoots down south, and I'm assuming it refracts off something and covers almost more than half the distance of the globe, and came up and hit the west edge of the storm. It was the northwest edge of the storm, blew a bunch of clouds away, and the darn thing turned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry, but we're not stupid, you know? Come on. You know, you're not going to tell me, oh, that's a natural effect. That's just the Earth, this and that. Like, yeah, it hits the storms every time. Bull. So there's definitely something to that, and there's all kinds of patents about it. So, you know, I've looked them up. I mean, there's so many weather patents. If you can find a database where they just have the weather patents, there's hundreds over the past 100 years or so. Jeez.
Oh yeah, there's tons of them, and thank you so much for sharing, brother. It's we got about a minute left, and gonna start closing down. But yeah, thank you for sharing all that. It was really good and really good talking to you.
You're welcome. I know I talk a lot sometimes, but hey, you get callers, so, and I never called in before. So all right, have a good night, and I hope you enjoy living up north and you get good weather this winter.
No, thank you so much, and do call in again.
I will. Thanks. Bye.
Take care. And all good thoughts. And I'm noticing some of you guys talking, and Mark in the chat room was talking about what are we going to do, you know, to communicate. You know, ham radio, walkie-talkies, and those are real ideas. And as well, I am going to look into that, you know, and we have to think about that. We have to think about what are we going to do. Ham radio might be a good thing to look into, and I do plan on checking it out. Not sure if I'm going to learn smoke signals like Mr. Mark Mucci. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that down in time. But yeah, ham radio might be interesting. It might be a good idea. Because yeah, it does feel like we're getting close to losing the grid and all the things that we've been talking about. So guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me again tonight. A great night, a great bunch of callers as always. Join me again next Tuesday on Revolution Radio, and we're going to go live again before that. Probably shooting for Thursday or Friday night. I will let you guys know, and we will go live once again. Or of course, if there's anything major, we'll be up and talking about it. And thank you guys so much for joining me once again. May you guys always be blessed with abundant peace, love, health, and well-being, and always stay safe, my friends. Namaste, guys.